Good afternoon, everyone. Good evening, everyone, or good morning for people. Really happy to be again in the another batch of BESA. I'm sure everyone is excited as I am, and we have a lot of exciting content, and the intention remains the same, even if the content has changed or the model of delivery has changed. We want to help as many people as we can in becoming a cloud solution architect or excel into their career journeys. So that's the intention, and I welcome all of you to be part of batch 06. We'll be having sessions same time every Saturday, and more details would be shared into LinkedIn group and also into Discord channel. So if you haven't joined it, please join there, and we would be happy to answer as many questions as we can. Now, just as an icebreaker activity, if you can tell me which city you are joining from. I am based in London, and some of our other members are also in London, but I would like to know who is joining from which particular city. And if you could highlight one part of the city which you like the most, so that would be so nice. Like if you could give like Bangalore, Lakshmi, I won't say you should mention traffic, but anything else you want to mention about Bangalore, that would be more than welcome. So anything which you feel that is very interesting part of your city, Bay Area, California, like it, Gurgaon, makes sense. Sheffield, Richmond, Virginia, thank you. Bangalore, Amit, thank you for that. And then we have people from Princeton. We tried to host this session this time for US time zone also. So probably it is a little late for Indian folks who are joining, but still it is much accommodative for US folks. So hopefully everyone is enjoying and would be learning a lot of things there. So I could see people joining from different places, and Nigeria, but joining from Manchester, that is good. Bangalore, South African food, that's a good one, Emmanuel. And then joining from Kenya, Melbourne, Australia, Burj Al Arab, that is good one. I've been to Dubai for a couple of years and I obviously miss the atmosphere there. Thank you so much, everyone. And I will now introduce my other team members who are helping us into running this particular session. And probably you all know Prasad. Prasad and I were initially involved in it, and then we were able to scale this. And that's where we were having help from a lot of people. Probably you all know Purna also. Let me add her too. And then we have Sharik with us. Sharik is helping a lot with all the content curation behind the scene, answering the chat question. And sorry, my mistake, I have removed Sharik by mistake. Let me add him back again. Sharik, don't go away. You still are needed here for helping us out. So all welcome. Thank you so much for helping us out with batch 06. So I would like to know a little bit about you. Probably a lot of people know you already, but if you could quickly brief us about what you do on a day-to-day basis and what is your role in AWS and why you are here. I'll start first. My name is Ashish and I am a customer solutions manager in AWS. I was before a technical trainer, and recently I switched the role, and now I am trying to help customers in migrating to cloud, managing their projects, and then ensuring that they get the best out of the cloud investment they are making. So that is about me. I also have published few books, and I publish few Udemy training, which I would be happy to share details with you. So just reach out. And now I would ask Prasad to introduce himself, and then we can follow logically.
Hello, everyone, and welcome all. I see a lot of people from the previous batches. That is great to have, and welcome everyone new who are joining us. I am Prasad Rao. I'm a principal partner solutions architect at AWS. So my day job is helping partners or enabling them on migrating and modernizing workloads on AWS. Apart from that, me and Ashish and others here, we do a lot of mentoring. Me and Ashish have also written a book, Cloud Career Journeys. I am also the author of newsletter, Behavioral OS for Techies. Yeah, it's great to have you everyone here, and we'll get started after the introductions with the first session. Parna.
Hey, hi everybody. Welcome back for those loyalists who keep coming back, and welcome to the new people over here. So my name is Parna Mehta. I am one of the original mentees of the BESA team when they started with, I think they planned for 20 and now it's grown to 10,000K. So that's an awesome scale. We think big as we do in Amazon, And currently I'm a cloud support engineer. Previously I was in technical training, and I love training. I love evangelizing about AWS cloud and giving back to community. So I'm engaged with a lot of communities, just like Besa. I'm engaged with a community called Aspire for Her, another community called Herkey. And yeah, so in my part time I just like helping people, especially restarters, as I am a restarter myself. So, welcome back, and I hope you enjoy this series, which is focused on AI. And we have some awesome mentors with us over here. Over to you, Sharik.
Hi, folks. Once again, good morning and afternoon and evening, everybody, wherever you are, which part of the world you're joining in from. And I think this is one change we have done this time. We have changed the timings to make sure the people from the North American side are also able to join. That's one big change. Apart from that, yes, you will see a lot of things. So I am Sharik. I was in the same team where Ashish was there. I was part of the AWS training and certification team. Recently, I have left AWS and I have gone ahead and started. I have my own startup now, and again, because of my background, I am into training and consulting space. So probably during this season, you will hear more about it. Maybe we'll talk about that and kind of how you can get engaged, how you can get benefited out of it. We'll do that. And yes, as always, I'm here to support Ashish, Prasad, and Perna, and everybody else, to give back to the community and help in the best possible way we can. And yeah, looking forward to the new season. Thank you. Kapil.
Hello everyone, my name is Kapil Dwivedi, Senior Solution Architect within Amazon. And I'm here to support you guys doing your certification and be a solution architect. I'm like newest member, I think, in the group. I joined from the batch 5, but loving the initiative. And it's great that we are able to help you in some capacity to achieve what you want to achieve in the career. Thank you.
Thank you so much, everyone. And we will quickly get started and keep your questions coming. Most of us are watching the chat and we can pick up question on the fly. And in case we are not able to answer that very moment, put them into Discord, put them into LinkedIn channel, and we will try our best to get back to you. So I'll now quickly share screen, and then other people would keep on joining as we move forward. Let's talk about what this BESA batch is, because some of you are joining it for first time, and that's why I wanted to ensure that you get the best understanding of what this initiative is and what it is not, because we don't want to have any misconception about these things. So best would be that I quickly explain you why we started and what we are expecting from this particular batch. So if you want to know about BESA, Become a Solutions Architect Initiative, or we call it BESA program, you could visit the website. I'll share these links afterward into an email. Ashish, me, Parna, and Prasad, we are core team, and then we have a lot of people who are helping us. And then Divyanshi was supposed to join. Kapil is there, Sharik, Shashank. They will be also helping us into the coming days. Then why we are doing it, as Parna mentioned, we are passionate about mentoring and giving back to community. Somewhere in our career, somebody helped us by a blog post or a YouTube video or by helping us as being a mentor. We are trying to just turn the table back and then give back to community as much as we can. It would be session would be broadcasted every Saturday 2 p.m. GMT, and if you miss any of it, don't worry. This will be recorded, and as soon as this session ends, the recordings would be available on YouTube. So that should not be a problem. So don't delay if you have to skip a session. As soon as you get time, watch it. Otherwise, you may break the sequence which we are following for the certification track at least. Talking about where things will happen, so it will be all on YouTube, even the recorded session. Then resources we will publish on the BESA website, or will send you email, and communication will happen on LinkedIn group and Discord. If not all of you are there, please join LinkedIn and Discord group, and we can post the link into chat in case you have missed it. How we will be delivering these sessions? So we will be delivering it into 2 tracks. First track will be AI practitioner, because AI has become a very common phenomenon nowadays. So we want to address that. Solution architect of future are ready for it, and Prasad will talk more on that, why AI practitioner. And then we also want to ensure that even if you are seasoned professional and working, we may have learned some few things while working on AWS in other profiles that we can share and make everyone's career a better trajectory. So that's what we are trying to look forward from this session. And How much? There is no cost. This all sessions are free, so you do not have to pay anything for these session. In case you are doing any experimentation on your AWS account based on the things we will discuss into the session, then you have to worry about and maintain your own accounting or your own pricing into AWS account. So that's all. Now, how we have progressed so far, just some number, which is obviously a good thing about us. Initially, as we mentioned, that we thought to only mentor 20 people because we had limited resources. But then we thought, why don't we scale it out like we have learned in AWS, and we are following this leadership principle. So now we are 10,000 strong. We could have here around 12 weeks of batches we have run so far. This batch is little different. We have 8 weeks only for this one, and then we have around 3,000 registration this time. Obviously not everyone is able to join, so we have around 400 500 members joining now, and we had so far helped a lot of people in getting into interviews, one-to-one mentoring. Obviously it is not scalable solution every time, but we try as much as possible so that we could help you out in case. Discord link, whoever is sharing, I would recommend that there is a limitation on Discord that it by default create a 7-day expiry link. So please, if you are inviting Prasad or Parna, Sharik or Kapil, make sure that you select a link for Discord which is for a longer duration period. Now, few disclaimer, because people should not have any wrong understanding about the program. So this is not a job guarantee program. We are not promising that, hey, once you attend this program, you would be all placed into a very big company, or you would have your own startup like Sharik. But we would try our best to help you out as much as we can. This is not a AWS official program. It is run by volunteers. So we are devoting our Saturdays to help community out. So just be aware about it. It is run on a best effort basis. We may not be able to answer every question, but we are genuinely trying as much people as we can answer to. So please make sure that you follow some guidelines for communication. In case of we have conflicting information, let's say we said X, but you think it is Y, best place would be to check AWS website. Cloud is very moving target, I would say. So what happens now that it could be some changes which has happened which we are not aware. So if there is a conflicting information, the best place of the source of the truth will be AWS website. So that's all we have. Now what we will be doing in certification track, we would be learning through discussion. We will do a role play for people who are new. Last time we had a role play, we would do the same thing here. We would talk about exam preparation session. We will host some online quizzes. We will give you a link for additional learning resources. And if the time permit, we will have Cloud Quest. We will obviously invite a guest, and we may plan for a bonus session in case a lot of feedback comes in. One thing about all these activities, feedback is important. So if you feel we could have done something differently, or we could have improved something in our deliveries, let us know. We are open to feedback. We do not promise we would be able to act upon everything, because there are a lot of things we need to consider first, but we'll try our best genuinely to help as much people as we can. For people who are not aware what the agenda for the next 8 weeks would look like, this is the agenda. Maybe some things here or may change. Maybe we can swap some session with the other session, but this is overall what we'll be covering into the certification track for AWS AI practitioner certification. Now, Prasad would also be handling behavioral track and will be supported by other colleagues. So we will be using behavioral track to give you some career guidance, to give you interview preparation tips, some things which you should not be doing or should be doing as a professional, how to build your network, things about Amazon leadership principle. We will try to invite guests also, and we have a bonus session also for behavioral track. That's all we would be doing. Now, I would like to invite Prasad to stage and would ask him that there were a lot of questions from people that said, why you are going for AI? It is a solution architect program. Why you are not sticking only to solution architect? So Prasad, would like to know what is your view, why you think we have included AI track.
Yeah, sure. And before that, let's rewind back and talk about when we started BESA, how we envisioned it to be, right? And then before just that, there was a question about on the chat I was handling, which was about what is the benefit of joining the broad Discord. The benefit is real-time interaction with the community. Like, if you think that it will help you by joining a community where other people are interacting on a constant basis with each other, helping each other, feel free to join. Or if you just want to receive the information, LinkedIn group is good enough for you. Right now, coming to why BESA. When initially me and Ashi started, we interacted about how we should be envisioning. Me and Ashish, we both were doing a lot of mentoring in our individual capacities, and we both were looking for ways to scale. That's when we started, and there were a few other volunteers at AWS. It was a volunteer-led program. Like there was Jamila, there was Alex, Crystal. We all came together and we envisioned it. Okay, we want to help people become solutions architect, and solutions architect is a mix of both technical skills as well as behavioral skills. Now it's a very diverse. When it comes to technical skills, there are multiple technical skills that a person can have as a solutions architect. It's a general solutions architect as well as specialist solutions architect. So we thought what we will do is that in every batch, we will kind of have a foundational track, and we will talk about the basic building blocks of solutions architect, or technical blocks, like, when we talk about cloud, it's like compute, your databases, your networking, the core components of it. And we will also have a specialist track. The specialist track, I remember that we ran a specialist track of serverless in one of the batch. We ran a specialist track of networking in one of the batch. We ran a specialist track of migration in one of the track, because there are solutions architects who specialize in each of the themes, right? And then behavioral also, we keep covering a lot of different kinds of diverse topics, like how do we gather requirements from a customer, or how do we handle conflict situations, or how do you prepare for interview. And we got a lot of guest speakers also onto the behavioral track, so that we can learn from other people experience. I think it was batch 4 or batch 5 in which we had a series of day in a life of different roles of people who are working at AWS, like developer advocates, customer solutions manager, like Ashish is there now, support engineers, developers. So we kind of, so that being a solutions architect, you're also able to appreciate how you would be interacting with other roles, and if you would like to think about moving to other roles, what would be those roles would be. Now, in this batch, we thought hard. First of all, this batch is a bit different, because other batches we generally run for 12 weeks. We are doing it just 8 weeks. We have shortened it, mainly because we don't want to run into the holiday season that comes in December. Anyways, reInvent comes at AWS. We all get very busy with reInvent. So we wanted to ensure that we finish the batch in November. And that's because it's 8 weeks. And we wanted to choose a specialist track for this particular batch. And AI is something that is there, which is a lot in demand, which is interesting a lot. And almost every job requirements are also asking for some knowledge of AI. And somehow it is touching every person's personal and professional life alike, right? And that's where we would also like to hear from you in the chat, that if you are using AI, how you are using AI to boost your personal productivity, or how it is being used in your organization, what experiments are you doing, so on and so forth. And accordingly, we can see how we can adapt our content over the 8 weeks if need to be. So that was the main thing. And we have not specifically looked into, we have not added the foundational track this time, because we have been doing that for quite many batches. And it becomes kind of repetitive, because the good part is we have a lot of repeat audience. More than 50% of you folks have been from the previous batches. So we want to ensure that everyone who joins get the maximum benefit. Anyone who is joining new and wants to learn the fundamentals, please go to our YouTube channel and look into the playlists. We have categorized all the previous batches sessions in playlists along with the technical track, the foundational. You'll be able to find them easily. If you want to dive deep into specific topics, we do have track for networking, we do have track for storage, we do have tracks for those also. And if you're looking for something specific, feel free to ping me, Ashish, or any other volunteers. We would be able to help you locate the right kind of videos that we already have. But yes, in this batch, over the 8 weeks, we will be covering for 45 minutes, starting 45 minutes every week on the AI ML track. And the aim is to help you achieve AI practitioner certification, or you have the knowledge of that. Certification is just a byproduct. If you would like to give it, if not, it's completely fine. But you would be having the knowledge of the whole AI ML fundamentals. And in the behavioral track, we'll keep experimenting. And if you have any specific ideas, feel free to suggest us over the LinkedIn group or the Discord channel, or ping me or Ashish individually, and we'll be happy to accommodate that.
Makes sense. So yeah, any suggestions are welcome, and we are trying to give you the best possible outcome for the time we are spending together. So that's why AI track. Now, coming back to a little bit more details on that, Prasad, if you could still talk about the giveaway which is there, or sorry, the discount on Cloud Career Journey.
Yes, yes.
What
And we
what
will
is
send the
Cloud Career Journey for people who are just joining for the first time?
Yeah. So now it's an interesting journey for me and Ashish. We started BESA mainly because we wanted to scale. We were struggling to scale on our own because doing one-on-one mentoring, its impact is high, but we are not able to scale. So we wanted to go from 1 to 20. That's why we started BESA, as Ashish mentioned, right? We thought there'll be 20 people who will start a group mentoring, and now we have a community of 10,000 people. So we started this group mentoring and it scaled really well. And we did not get a lot of time to do one-on-one mentoring, but still people who, let's say, got their resume shortlisted at any of the FANG companies like Amazon or Microsoft or other companies, we try to have, one-on-one sessions with them to help them prepare for the interview. In those mentoring sessions, whether it is group or one-on-one, one of the common feedback was that there is a lot of technical material available. Like people can go onto Udemy and take a course. People can, like watch YouTube videos. But people are still very confused about how they should be navigating their cloud career. And that's where the whole idea of writing a book, Cloud Career Journeys, came for me and Ashish, which was like, if we are able to showcase journeys of different people from diverse backgrounds who were in a similar position, right, like who are starting now, right, how they have navigated their careers and become successful in cloud, like what resources they have used, what decisions they have made, what roadblocks they have faced, how did they overcome the challenges. If we are able to showcase those through the journeys of different people, it will be helpful for others who are looking to navigate. So anyone who picks up the book should be able to relate with at least one story. There are 16 stories in the book spread across 6 categories. Ashish, if you can scroll down, we have 6 categories in the book. Pathfinders are the people who are from a completely non-technical background. Like we have people featured in this, like Daniel, who was a Uber driver, and he's now working as a senior cloud engineer. We have Ifyani, who was a track athlete. Like people who were from a completely non-technical background, like they did not know what IP address is, and during the pandemic they started learning tech and then cloud, and now they are at respectable positions in cloud careers. Then we have other categories like progressives, accelerators. I'll not spend a lot of time here. I don't want to take a lot of time on cloud career journeys, but go through this website. We'll send the link. And the book, we have featured 16 people from different diverse backgrounds so that you will be able to relate with at least one of them and we get inspired from them. That's about the book. And while writing the book, like me and Ashish have started writing this book last year around March or April. That was 2023. And we released the book this year in January. So it has been a long journey for both of us, like 8 months writing the book. Uh, and we did have few beta readers uh, in the, like, while we writing the book, from whom we, got the feedback. And one of the feedback was, okay, I got, inspired by reading all these stories who have been able to navigate the cloud career. How do I get started? And that's when we thought, okay, if we are able to provide them some resources, right? The book does have free resources worth $100. You have 1 month access to WizLabs, full access to WizLabs, 1 month, full access to Pluralsight, and then we have access to digital cloud training and tutorials dojo. So we have access to all of these platforms through the book itself. But then we wanted to go one step ahead and create a starter kit package. Now, this is a separate product which is available on Gumroad. It is for $100, but it helps you, with the resources to transform your career in 12 months. It provides 6 months access to WizLabs, 6 months access to Pluralsight. And as you know, WizLabs and Pluralsight is just not about AWS or Azure or cloud. They have resources across multiple technologies, and Pluralsight is much more diverse. They have a lot of content in it, and you have full access to them. WizLabs have also access to the sandbox, so you can also use their sandbox to upskill yourself, do the hands-on labs. Then this starter kit also provides 12 months access to Cloud Practitioner Ultimate Package from Digital Cloud Training, Neil Davis. It provides access to tutorials, dojo, for limited time. Then we do have roadmaps of different roles from the industry experts. Like Tech World with Nana, most of you would be knowing she has a 1 million plus subscribers YouTube channel. She has created a cloud DevOps engineer roadmap, and you will get all of these different roadmaps from different uh, experts, like for Cloud Solutions Architect by John Bonso, Platform Engineer by Mumshad, Cloud Security Engineer by Ian Austin, who runs the platform Pound Labs. You get all of this as a package in the Cloud Careers Journey Starter Kit package. And there are a few other things like for resume and for boot camps. We do have some discounts for those. So we try to aggregate all these resources which will help you upskill in cloud and get the job. And especially for BESA members, we do have 50% discount. So we'll send an email after this to everyone, which will have these discount links. So feel free to take advantage of that. That's especially for BESA members.
Thank you, Prasad. That was good enough information. And now we thought this to convey all this information in 15 minutes, but we are 27 minutes now in the session. So let me quickly go into the actual technical track. We would talk about what is we are going to discuss today and how we will be doing it. Just to give you an idea, we will try to do a role play. And in that role play, I would be playing a part of a technical person from AWS, a consultant, and Parna would be playing part of a customer who is trying to go into AWS or AI. So let's get started. Thank you, Prasad. We'll add you again into the chat when there is a behavioral track. Thank you. Welcome, Parna. How are you doing?
Hi, Ashish. Welcome back. And I'm so glad you're here because I'm all ears to know about AI, ML, and Gen AI. And I have my team here with me who are here with me to understand the nuances. And for me, it's like something changed overnight, right? It's as if there's a spacecraft of Gen AI which landed on world, and by the time we woke up in the morning, everybody's talking about it. So I want you to help me understand what just happened. Is this something which happened overnight? Why so much talk about Gen AI? So please help me understand that. And another thing is, I don't want to miss the train because I know that I have competing businesses who are already spending on Gen AI and AI ML as well as training their teams. So please let me know what are the fundamentals, how can I adopt it, and all the use cases. I'm all ears.
That makes sense. And they're very, very logical question if I talk about so yeah, it happened like ChatGPT got launched and everyone was behind Gen AI. If you talk about companies like Google, Microsoft, AWS, Oracle, everyone is talking about Gen AI. But it may look like it happened overnight. I'll give you a very basic example, again, coming from my analogies kind of thing. Let's say a nation is planning for a nuclear test. Now, nuclear test is not something which you do overnight, right? There would be a lot of preparation required for it. There are a lot of things you need to consider. And when that test happens, then everyone knows in the world that, oh, this happened and this country is now a nuclear power. Same thing happened here. A lot of things were happening behind the scene which we were not paying attention to. And when it manifested into a form which everyone could interact to. Like if I'm talking about machine learning, I think those type of program existed even 50 years back when IBM created Deep Blue, a supercomputer who could play chess. That was one of the type of machine learning. But when it became a consumer thing, like where everyone could go open up a browser and start something, that is where Gen AI become very popular. But if I go into little more detail that how we have come to this particular point in so far, I would go ahead and say that there was a lot of amount of data which we were accumulating. If you look at today, internet is generating data at a rapid pace which was never imagined. And then cloud computing and AI chips were enhancing. You talk about companies like Nvidia who are coming with newer innovation where we can perform a lot of processing for graphical thing. A lot of compute power is available, and that became the machine learning innovation. So when you combine all these things, all the data which is available for training your model, all the type of hardware which you can use to perform this training much faster. And the third is algorithm which are being used, or the smartness into the compute which we have created. That all combined together is what has created the generative AI. So it hasn't happened overnight. It may be visible overnight, but it was happening from long time. And I would say it is like a fruit was a tree you planted, and now you are getting the fruits out of it.
True.
Does it
True.
make sense?
Of course, it makes sense. And I know that data is the new gold, right? So, what do you do
Yeah,
with so much data? So, I'm
exactly.
sure we can use that there. So, you used a lot of terms, right? And there is
Mhm.
a whole lot of terminologies that go along with AI ML. So, I would require a little clarity about the fundamentals. So, can you help me with that?
Yeah, fundamentals are very important. I always say that if you want to build a big building, you or a tall building, you need the right foundation. And let's try to cover some of the fundamentals here. Some of you may already know it, so just bear with me till we reach to the point where we can use it for a very specific thing. But we will talk about very basic things. Sometimes we get so bogged down by confusing term. So let's talk about generative artificial intelligence. AI stands for artificial intelligence. And what is intelligence, right? We do not pay attention to it, but everyone is having some type of intelligence. Whether you talk about is it a human being or is it animals, they will all have some way of comprehending things, understanding, and then benefiting from that expectation, right? So that is what we call intelligence into dictionary definition. And most living beings have intelligence. Whether you talk about humans, obviously we have it, animals also have it. We can obviously find a lot of information on internet about the different type of animals who have different type of intelligence. So intelligence is something which allows you to understand what is happening and maybe take a action based on it, or use that knowledge to do something about it. So that is intelligence, which we take for granted being a human or being animal. But now when we talk about making a machine aware about that intelligence, that is very complicated. So I could identify that I am wearing a blue shirt. Others can identify a blue shirt. But for machine, it would be very complicated. We have to make them understand what is blue first and how they can relate different patterns of blue. So that's what would be very important for machine learning. So I give you a theoretical definition first. So the theory and development of computer systems which are able to perform tasks which require human intelligence, right? If I have to identify someone's voice, I have to identify someone's photo, I have to identify a particular color, that would require some intelligence on that. So could be speech recognition, could be decision making, could be understanding language or translating between languages. That is all going to be part of your artificial intelligence. Common
So,
example, we are using it. Yeah, go ahead.
Ashish, I have a question. Like, if it is mimicking humans, so why do we need artificial intelligence? Can't human intelligence achieve the same task? We are already been doing it for so long. So why suddenly we need that?
Good question. We still have a limit of how much manpower we can devote to a task. Let's say I give you a task that, hey, you have to go and read all the work of William Wordsworth, or you have to read everything which is written by Edgar Allan Poe. You may have a limit of how much you can retain and how much you can process. Maybe if I have to achieve the same task, I could give the task to 100 people combined. But then assimilating that knowledge, combining it, it would be very difficult. So we want to ensure that we can be more creative. And the common things, let's say ordering a shoe for me, or my fridge is not having the enough cola, my fridge can be smart enough to understand it and then order it for me. So anything which we can help to save our time instead of doing time consuming tasks which are repetitive, which can be offloaded, why don't we do it? Very simple example. Most of us may in India have a advantage of having a domestic help, right? Why we have a domestic
Right.
help? Can't we do those things on our own? We can, but maybe we have more priorities. Maybe you have to take care of kids. Maybe you have to go to job. So we could basically paying somebody to help us into doing things for us. Same thing here. If I have to write a quote, why I have to read all the work and then get it done? Maybe I could have a marketing campaign run by AI. Maybe I have to create images which AI can help me rather than I go and shooting those images. So that's where we are trying to augment our own expertise by AI. Obviously, AI is not replacing humans because there is limitation of what AI can understand. But yeah, idea is we want to ensure that we can leverage our time into more productive thing rather than doing mundane thing which can be generated by machines. Does it make sense?
Makes sense. Yeah. So it makes us more productive, agile, and efficient. If
Exactly. And
that's what you're saying.
repetitive, right?
Yeah.
Means I could
Repetitive.
do the same thing, but I would get bored, right? But a machine won't
Right.
get bored, hopefully. So that's the thing we are trying to do.
So we must be using AI already, right? In our day-to-day lives. Probably most
Exactly.
of us are ignorant about it. Can you give me some
Not
examples where?
ignorant means sometimes some things are so obvious that we do not pay attention to it. It's a very so
True.
obvious thing. Same example like maps and navigation. We all use Google Maps, right? We all use MS Word where we type something and if a spelling mistake is there or it can suggest me what the next word
Right.
would be. So in map, nobody has said that I will always feed all the data for point A to go to point B, then B to C. We have fed the information about the geography, maybe the landmarks, and then map is smart enough to calculate distance. Maybe if there is a disruption of traffic, maybe there is a flood, maybe there is a road closure, it can get data from other agencies and then give me the best route to go for. I could say, hey, I want to go only by car. I could say I want to go only by train. If that time a train is shut down or not operating, it will find another train for me and suggest me. Same thing is facial detection. Like you go to your airport security, probably your face would be recognized there. This is happening. Text editor. So you are having search engine. When you search in Google, one term is there and multiple terms comes out of it. That is all the things which are commonly happening, but we do not specifically call them AI. But yes, it is a shape or form of AI as it happens.
Makes sense. So this is AI. Now we generally club AI and ML together, machine learning. So are they related to the same thing? Are they different? What's the difference? Can you just clarify about that?
Makes sense. That's a good question because these two terms are used so interchangeably that hey, I am using AI, I am learning ML, I am doing this, I am doing that. So let me try to clarify a little bit on that. And I will give you some example also you can relate into real life too. So when I am talking about AI, we are trying to create a capability of a machine who could be similar to a human being, right? Could be similar, could be more faster, could be little slower, but what our brain is able to do, if we can get machines do these things for us, that is what we refer as artificial intelligence. So AI, we are trying to either mimic what a brain can do or go beyond what a brain can do. Like if you ask me that do a total of two digits which are $10 million and this number, I may not be able to do it very fast, but machine can do it. So either it will be equivalent to my human capabilities or it will be beyond capabilities in some year as we see. So that we refer as artificial intelligence. I would say you are able to discover things, find new information. Maybe you can infer, you can take well-informed guess about something, or you can perform reasoning, you can think and make judgment. That is what artificial intelligence. Making machine intelligent artificially, that is what we call AI. Now, how about ML? So ML is a part of artificial intelligence. How we can make machine intelligent? So we can then train machines for being intelligent. That is what we call machine learning. So artificial intelligence is basically machines simulating human intelligence and decision making, like predicting what would be the next turn I have to take or what would be the next location I should be going from my map. That is artificial intelligence. And then ML is ability of machine to learn without explicitly being programmed. That is the main difference here. We will not explicitly be saying to machine or let's say map application that calculate distance from London to Shanghai. Maybe it knows where the London is, where is Shanghai. It would be able to do a calculation on his own. And next time you say, I now need a distance from London to Amsterdam, it would leverage the same type of mechanism to get a calculation done for me. So it is a machine who are smart enough to learn things like we do rather than being programmed for everything. So AI is more on the programming side. ML is more on the learning side of thing, and learning, when I call it, is mostly about patterns, it is about anomaly detection. So we'll talk about it. Just to give an example, let's say machine that can play chess based on the rule. So you create a program, probably all of you have played chess onto an online platform. So what happens there? Machine has been programmed with all the possible moves for the chess, and that has been fed into the system, and system is responding back to that. But what if machine can learn to play the chess from analyzing the past chess game plays by the human, how a grandmaster is playing, if it can understand those moves, in what situation that move was taken, what type of situation was it, what type of challenges were there, and if then machine can decide based on all the data, process it, and then give me the result, that I would call a machine is now learning. Does it make sense?
Ashish, I have a question here. So we have been traditionally writing programs using procedural instructions, right? So when I have a business problem in my company, how do I understand whether ML will be used to solve it, or I should be doing plain simple traditional programming? Can you give me an example of a
Yeah.
problem where I should be picking one over the other?
Okay, let's talk about a situation. Let's say you are going from point A to point B. So, can you predict all the possible challenges you may face? If you can, you could write a program who could help you navigate all these things. But if I am not aware that what could be the challenges I am facing, then probably you should be making a machine learning program for that. Let's give an example. Now, you are creating, let's say, a decision tree or a program which would be able to differentiate a white color and a blue color. Done. Simple program. That is
Right.
good for artificial intelligence. But now I want a program who could differentiate all the possible color. It should be able to differentiate all the type of fabric which are being used, and it has to differentiate all the type of shapes I could wear into my into t-shirt or shirt or those type of things. So as you see, the probability of things and the logic which you need is becoming bigger and bigger. You cannot write program for every single thing, right? That
Right.
time probably you would be needing machine learning.
Makes sense.
It
Right.
can let me give you one more example on that. Let's say you are on a website like amazon.com. Now amazon.com may be displaying you your last bought product, right? That is coming based on who you are, and the rule is there which will be identifying, oh, this is Ashish, he has bought this thing,
Right.
and let me display it. But now it may generate recommendations for me, and that recommendation can be based on my taste, could be based on my location, could be based on weather, could be based on what I last purchased, could be based on how much I spend on Amazon. So as you see, n number of variables are there, and my programming logic may not be able to create a relation between all these n number of elements, and that's where machine learning would be much useful for me.
Makes sense. So that's more efficient, I guess, because you are not explicitly putting in the instructions, conditions, and rules, and your machine learning is algorithm, as we call it. I think that's learning from just the data that you're providing it, right? So it's
Exactly.
self-intelligent.
So yeah, self-intelligent. So it's a understanding, it is understanding the context, it is understanding the environment, and then taking some action based on that.
Makes sense. Yeah. So I just have a question. So when I'm probably typing words in Google search, and I see there's, as soon as I type a word and I see this list of next words which are coming in, is that ML that I'm seeing there? Is it predicting the next word?
It
Is
is, in
that
a
an
way,
example?
yes, it is predicting the next word what you, and that will be based on your search pattern, right? So maybe
Right.
Google knows that is it a person with age group 10 to 20 typing this thing, or it is a age group person 21 to 50 typing it, and it may have different word predicted for me. So yes, it is using ML behind the scene for it. It may not be a full-fledged form of ML. It is very specific, what we sometimes call a narrow ML, which is just focusing on a single task and letting me complete one
Hmm.
single task. But yeah, it can be trained to do different things also. So like you could predict the next word. Why don't you predict the weather? Why don't you predict the stock market? So you could enhance that model's capability as we move forward. So that is possible.
Makes sense. So I guess when we are shopping online on our Amazon app and it's recommending the associated purchases I can make, so that's again personalization. That's again machine
Exactly.
learning which is happening, right?
That's
Okay,
true.
makes sense. All right. Yeah. So, Ashish, so now I understood what machine learning is, but I would like to know, in the process of machine learning, we create something called as a model, right? And that model is that intelligent black box which is actually making predictions or making inferences, as we call. So, can you share a little insights about what is this model? Where does algorithm come in? So that entire process I would like to know.
Yeah, why not? So yeah, that is fundamental block. So everyone is talking about we have this model or we have this LLM models or we have foundation models. So let's try to demystify what is model and then we'll go into deep of it. Obviously we have time limitation, but we will try to talk about what is a model. Let me again translate thing to a business need. And everyone who is joining, a suggestion is a technology may be good, but a technology is not useful if it cannot solve a business problem. So whenever you are learning a technology, as a tip from me, understand what is the use case for this technology. Nobody just created machine learning because it could generate cat pictures or it could generate dog pictures, right? There was some business need and that's why that particular product or service or software has been developed. So let's try to understand how we would be able to understand machine learning fundamentals. So let's take a business need into action. A company who is like Amazon, or you set up your own company and now you want to have product recommendation. Obviously you have a customer base. Now I want to know what my customer would be buying next, what I can be giving them, what I could be recommending them. So that is where we have to build a recommendation engine. And now we have two approaches. One, consider that a classical programming approach, which I was talking about, that you write rule for everything, or you have a machine learning approach where you make a machine aware about the circumstances, about the data, about the person who is asking the question, and then machine predicts based on that. So classical approach, and we will talk about machine learning approach. If I'm into a classical approach, what I would be doing, I would be knowing that person's purchase history, and then I would be formatting that purchase history, augmenting with some of the rules, and that will generate a recommendation for me. Simple rule I could write would be like this. So if a customer has bought shoes and is in between age range of 18 to 45 and lives in cold climate, recommend warm socks. So that is the rule I have taken. Now this rule can only apply if that customer has bought shoes, if he or she is between 18 to 45, and if they live into a cold climate, right? So if a person in Dubai is buying a shoe, this rule does not apply to it. So if I want in Dubai, this rule should also apply. So I have to create another rule. Now let's say that we have created 10 type of rule, 100, 500 type of rule, but again there is a limitation how much we can process on it. So here rule N says if a customer has bought kids jacket and is between age of 25 to 55 and lives in warm climate, recommend a travel bag. So probably kids jacket he or she is buying, he is 25, 55, so probably they want to give it as a gift. Maybe because of that they would be traveling somewhere and it's a jacket, they live in warm climate, so probably it is not for them, it is for someone else. So they may travel and let me recommend a travel bag to them. So what is happening here? I am trying to predict as much possible permutation and combination can happen, but I cannot predict every single possible option here. What if that person may not be interested in travel bag, or he has already bought a travel bag, why I should again recommend a travel bag to him or her? So that's where we need to figure out a way where we can let machine learn and then predict based on what he has understood. So let's go ahead and talk about these things. So when we talk about machine learning approach, what we are doing here, we take the same purchase history, we collect data from site-wide sales we have made. Amazon has spent billions of sales of product, and then obviously they are able to understand a pattern in that sales. So we feed that particular software which we are calling as a model. I'll explain what a model is, but a model is basically having a purchase history as an input, site-wide customer sales data, what other people in that age range from that location, from that geography, from that time zone has bought, and what he or she recently bought. Let me leverage all the data and provide a recommendation on it. So idea is, as much data I have and I can process it in a logical sequence, I would be able to create better recommendations for me, right? So that's what we are trying to achieve from machine learning. So what is happening here? Rather than me creating rule for everything, machine is smart enough to derive rules from the data itself. It adapts to complexity in customer profiles. There can be different type of profiles of customer, and then we have trained model ahead of time, so it will not require to process that rule that very moment. What may happen that you logged off today from Amazon, but it has calculated that what would be the recommendation product, and next time you log in and that product is displayed to you. So rather than explaining that information and giving it to the same time, we may have processed it and we may have created it afterwards, should not be a problem. So that's the machine learning approaches. So what I'm doing here, I'm combining all the available data from the side in which I can derive a pattern. I am combining with user's own behavior, his or her purchase history, and now I am making a recommendation based on that. That's how machine learning would be solving this problem. Makes sense?
Makes sense. So, Ashish, I have a question. So, this model that you're showing, which is the intelligent machine, I'll say. So, as data scientists in my organization, do they have to build a model every time, or are there ways out there that I can reuse some models? I hear about open source models, etc. Can you tell me, do they have to build every time from scratch? And the second question I have is, if I'm a consumer, do I need to know about the data, how the model was trained? Do I need that information? Or for me, it's as good as just feeding in my information and getting the output?
So I would give you my most common answer, it depends. So it depends. What is your use case? What is your use case? Let's work backward from there. So you want to create a method where you have a product and you want a product review to be returned based on the feedback given by customer. Now, this may not be something which has not been done before, or this is not a complex task like launching a rocket to moon. So probably I could leverage existing models which exist for this, right? So maybe some scientific model exists, some vision model exists, maybe some LLM, which is large language model exists. So common task which I can get done by existing model, I won't break my bank to go and train a model. But now I am going to predict the lunar orbits. I am trying to predict the Mars movement, or I am predicting the weather on the Mars. Probably no model has data around it. So that time I may want to build my own model. So I would need to compare the thing, cost, time, data availability, what my requirements are, and then I would make a decision whether I should go for training and building my own model, or I should be leveraging the off-the-shelf products which are there. Like simple example, we buy shoes, right? Now you may buy a shoes number 8 or 9 or 10, but maybe you need 8.5. But if a company is not making 8.5, maybe you have that much money and you need that comfort that you could go to company and say, hey, I am paying you this much money, I need 8.5 in this style, please get it for me. If you're paying money, if you can wait, if you can leverage the connection, why not? Otherwise you would probably use what is available as long as it can be serving your purpose, and it may not fit 100%. Even if it is aligned 60-70%, okay, let me now train model on my own data so it can give me actual recommendation or actual result which I'm looking for. Does it make sense?
Makes sense. And I hear that you can also customize models. I know we'll be talking about it later. So I don't always have to build from scratch, right? So I can
probably
augment
not
it to do more specific tasks. Okay.
Yeah, and it's very costly to train model. It looks very simple word that I'm training a model, but it could be very costly when you're talking about large models.
Makes sense.
Now I want to talk a little bit more on the model so that everyone is on the same page. What is model behind the scene? So model is a trained algorithm which is used to identify pattern in your data and does not require explicit manual set rules. That is a model. Let me give an simple example, and we'll do a simple activity and we will probably able to get information from there. Now give me a minute. I'll try to get my pen here so that I can write few things here. Give me a minute. And people attending, please keep your questions coming. You are in very capable hand and you should be able to get lot of information and questions answered as we are moving forward. So please ask question as much as you can. Now give me a minute. Probably I have to write down things here. Okay. Let's talk about a very simple topic here. Now I am drawing something here, and that is a triangle. Now can you predict what would be the next shape coming after this? Probably not, because you do not have context, right? So I now draw a square here. Now I draw a circle here. So till you can't predict it, what is going to come next? What, right? But let me now give you a pattern. Once I have drawn these three things, I go ahead and further draw one more triangle. As soon as you see this, now you can see, oh, there is a pattern. So he has drawn a triangle. What should be next coming? Probably it should be a square coming up here, right? And then once the square is there, what should be coming up? What I should be having? I should be having a circle here. So basically what we now do, we have trained a model to understand the pattern, and based on that pattern it is predicting what is coming next. That on a very high level, what a machine is doing, it is trying to understand the pattern, and based on those pattern it is able to predict what is coming next. That's what we are calling generative AI. But now machine learning is not about just creating the pattern. It could be something else. Now let's say I throw a curve ball and I draw one more circle here. And then I go back to my triangle, I go back to my square, and I go back and create my circle here. Now, if a machine is looking at, machine now can say, hey, looks like there is an anomaly here. There is something which is not as expected, and that's what machines are good at picking up. Consider these are all credit card transactions. All transactions are finding similar type of thing. They are following a pattern. There is a buyer. Wherever the country of the buyer is, that is where the product is being shipped. That is where the bank is operating. That is the website they have used. And now I am getting a credit card transaction which says I bought $10,000 of product from US, but I am shipping it to China, and I have bought it from a Thailand website. That is not a pattern. That could be a fraudulent transaction. So that's what is we are trying to understand from machines. So first thing, we are able to identify the pattern, and if in the pattern if there is anomaly, I am able to identify that through machines. So this is on a high level what machines are trying to do to understand, and that's what a model is actually doing on the sense, right? So that is the idea of model. Let me give you a little bit more information so that you all are on the same page.
So Ashish,
model
I
is a
have one
program.
question. I have a
Please,
question.
please.
Now that you showed us an example of a type of data. Now this training data, what kind of training data can I use? Like in my organization, we have audio, we have video, we have different types. So what sort of training data can an algorithm take or a model can be built on? Can you give me some examples that I can
Yeah.
use?
So see, there are two types of thing which we can highly bifurcate it. It we call is a single model. I am talking about here MODAL, single model inputs. And then there could be a multi-model input. Multi-model input means the software is smart enough to understand video, it is smart enough to understand text, it is smart enough to understand picture. So that would be a multi-model input we can provide, and it could be also a single type of model. Like I am building a search engine and I just process text, so I need to only have process information of text, nothing more is required. But now Google can get an image also, and based on that image it can also go ahead and then predict what this image is and all the information. That all is going to be a multi-model type of model which I am utilizing. Does it make sense?
Yeah, makes sense.
Good. So model is a program, and what model is doing behind the scene, model is applying algorithm which are not manually set rules, and by that it is able to give the best possible outcome, and relevant input are making the task possible, and then we get the output on that. I will give you analogy at the end, so you should be able to relate all these things into a real life scenario, that how actually it works. But model is the brain behind everything, and what is happening within a model, as you said a word algorithm, that is where algorithms are coming into picture. So algorithm is a procedure. Often you put it into a programming language or a pseudocode that is applied to data set to achieve the function or purpose of it. So whatever brain is thinking about, you got a data, you see a fire, that is the input you got. Your brain processes it, oh, there is a fire, I have to extinguish it, it can be harmful, I do not need to go near to that. That is what you are performing, and that is the algorithm built into your mind. That's how you are trying to identify that. So AI models, algorithm, they recognize pattern and trends in the data, as I gave example of triangle and square and thing. This could look like this, which can have feature, which can have weight. So this is going to be more on the mathematical side. Behind the scene algorithm is basically a mathematical formula, and obviously for different type of input we may need different type of algorithm. Some algorithm may be good for text processing, another could be for video, another could be for scientific data, another could be for prediction, another could be for anomaly detection. So we need different type of models if we needed. So that is different type of models and algorithm which we can leverage. So we have multiple algorithm maybe in a model, they work together, and then we are getting a output what we are looking for. So that's how all these things work together.
Makes sense. So Ashish, like we are talking about training. So in order to train these models, of course, these are very intelligent models. You need lots of data. Do we need some specialized software and hardware for that as well, or can we use the regular ones that we use for any other workloads?
See, regular one can be used, but it would not be that efficient as you are looking for, right? So if I am having a normal phone, I can still make a call from that. But if I have a smartphone, I can make a call. Maybe I can record it. Maybe while I'm on the call, I can start my video also. So you get the point. So yes, the
Right.
basic thing can still happen. If it is a Python code, it is a C++ code, it is a Java code, any machine can interpret it. At the end, it is all the byte code which gets converted into. But if it is a smartphone, it is able to understand different voice, photo, maybe do the checking of the right person or doing a true caller type of thing. So those specialized hardware will make training the model or inputting the data or processing data much efficient, and that's why we prefer to have something which is very specifically trained and which can give us the very specific answer for the question we are asking. So having a hardware which is very specific to machine learning obviously would be really helpful, and that's why we have a lot of emphasis on Nvidia as a chipset, or we have Amazon has Inferentia, we have
Yes.
Trinium chipset.
Training.
So that is where helping us to get the most out of it.
Makes sense. Sure.
Now, in the interest of time, I will give you an analogy and try to make sure that you understand all the concepts we have discussed so far. So let me talk about that analogy. Very simple analogy, and you would all be able to relate to it. And obviously, if you have more input, I would be happy to improve this analogy also. So probably all of us use coffee, right? Or maybe tea or whatever it is. So I'm taking example of a coffee here. So let's say we have a coffee shop, and now our job is that obviously to serve customer, and now as we are expanding, we need more people to help us out. We started the coffee shop independently, we are able to provide the services, but now we need more people so that we could do more important tasks. So what we do, we are now going to train some barista for us. So we are going to train barista, and barista would be person who would be making the coffee. Obviously nobody knows making the coffee from the initial school days, so they have to be trained, so we have to train them. Now to make a coffee, we need some ingredients, right? A coffee would have a permutation or combination of coffee, milk, sugar, water. Once you combine them into a specific ratio with a specific equation, that is where you can utilize these coffees. So ingredient is what is your data. Whatever you want to make, you need to provide input for that, and for that particular coffee which I want to make, I need ingredients which is for data. Done. Now just keeping coffee, milk and sugar and water together will not make a coffee, right? I need to process it. I need to mix them into a specific order or a specific ratio, and that is where we would have a recipe which is coming up. So for espresso, I do not need anything, I just need espresso. But if I am making Americano, I need espresso and I have to add water on that. I need flat white, I need to add steamed milk on the espresso. Somebody is looking for mocha, I need to give steamed milk and chocolate and espresso on top of it. So what you are seeing here is a recipe, and obviously if the ingredients are same and if I am following the same recipe, I would be getting the same output every time. That is where algorithm comes into picture. So algorithm is basically a recipe that how this ingredient has to be created and connected, and that's how we will get the output associated. Right now, you mentioned about hardware. So can I make a coffee without any hardware? Yes, probably I can make it. But if I need, let's say I need whipped cream, or I need to steam the milk, or I need the milk foam for cappuccino, what I would probably need, I would be needing coffee machine which are very specialized. So people were still making coffee before these machines were invented. But these machines are making your life much easier as a barista, because now you can just make foam if the need be. You can just make the milk hot, or maybe you can cold it, or it has ice also. It can grind the coffee beans for you. So that's what is coffee machine specialized hardware is helping you. And same way, when you are machine learning data, that specialized hardware which you are using, that can also be really useful for you. So that is specialized hardware. Now you also mentioned training, right? Now
Right.
barista I may make them aware that, hey, this is coffee machine, this is milk, this is recipe. But again, coffee making is kind of art. Not everyone makes the same coffee, right? So
Right.
same thing here. As I train a barista, so somebody who is smart enough, who has done coffee making for a long time, he or she would be helping that barista to learn. And I don't expect that on very single moment or very first interaction, barista would be able to make the best perfect coffee for me. So I would be training them, and then obviously I would be performing some checks in that. I would provide feedback. Hey, you added more milk. Hey, you have to add more water on that. You have to you have to boil it for a little more point. So that all I am going to go for. So that is why I am providing feedback. So based on the feedback I am providing to barista, he or she would be improving the coffee, and that would make sure that we are getting the best ingredient given. And then now my model is ready. Now my barista is ready. I could have helped them to now get started, and probably we have asked them to create these type of coffee foam shapes and this type of art. So now barista is ready. So now my model is ready. Now when model
That's a
is
great
ready, what it is
example.
going to do? Go ahead.
Yeah, so that I think that was a great example, and I think the fact that you said there were different ingredients, so the different ingredients are synonymous to features in my data, right? Some
Exactly.
features are more dominant, like in a particular coffee flavor there was more milk, in some other
More milk is
there was
needed.
more, there's foam. Okay, I get that, makes sense. Yeah, yeah,
Yeah.
please go ahead. I think it's a great
So
example.
yeah, this is how, like, you trained a barista, and now let's say you trained a barista that he or she can make all these shapes on the foam, right? So that is good. And now probably when if it is a new barista, I don't want him or her to face new customers every day. What I would probably do, hey, you got trained, and I know that Parna is coming to my coffee shop and she always likes a coffee of this type, and barista has already known it because that is the training data fed to them. Now what I would say, okay, go ahead and serve my regular customers. They are not looking for complicated coffees. They know what they need, and you can break that coffee because I have trained you. So I would be serving regular customer through those particular model got trained. So basically I'm using model is using training data. Now
So
I
I
don't
have a
expect that.
question,
Go
Ashish.
ahead.
Sorry,
Go
I'm
ahead.
just stopping you there. So in this case, it has been trained on these six types of coffees. Okay, right now, if there is a need for a new kind of,
Exactly.
what
Yeah.
happens then? Is it when we talk about models hallucinating? We hear about that. Does it start making
Hallucination
up?
is little different, so we'll talk about it if the time permit. But before hallucination, there is one more thing. Like you said, hey, you trained me on making a mocha, you
Yeah,
made me make flat white, I could make cappuccino. What if somebody comes and says I need a ginger tea?
right.
Probably you do not know that. Now what happens? So you know, now based on training data you can serve your regular customers. But now if somebody comes to you and says, hey, you have to deliver me a different type of coffee, or I don't need this shape on the coffee foam, please create a different shape for me, maybe give me something else. So that is where model would apply all this brain. Like, give an example. So you learn programming languages, right? Now,
Right.
have you learned every type of programs in your programming language class? Probably not. They made you aware about how the loop works. They made you aware what is a variable, what is a recursion, how you call a function, and now you leverage that knowledge to write every different type of program, whatever you needed. So you acquired the knowledge, and now as you are trained, as you have experimented, you are applying that knowledge to get the most out of the request which has come to you. So somebody comes that, hey, I need to have a coffee which would have 1+1 on it, which would have thank you return, which would have a question mark. Now model is smart enough that how he makes a coffee and how he makes to that particular thing, that is where model is serving my new customer, and that's what we call inferences. So this is a very technical word which we call inferences. So when a model is predicting something which has not been trained upon, but based on the data which has been trained on, so that is what we call a model is inferring. Model is performing inference and then giving me the output. So you have somebody you trained 1+1 is 2. That is good, that is a training data, but now you give them a problem to solve 10+10. So they would use the same logic and give you the result of 20. That is where a model is inferring. So when your barista is smart enough that it knows what are common things to do and it can enhance that coffee which he or she is making, that's where we say our model is ready and it is starting the inferences for our customer. That's how we start. Does it
So
make sense?
inference is similar to making a prediction, right?
this is a prediction we are making. Now, in some cases, I may call it prediction, but let's say if it is an image generation, this is not a prediction, right?
Yeah.
So
Yeah.
it is something we went to create. So it is a generative AI is also doing inferences, or maybe when I am performing anomaly detection or credit card fraud detection, that is what I am creating is a inference right on that. Right.
Okay, makes sense. So now talking about training, sometimes we explicitly train, sometimes we ask the person to learn on their own, right? So I hear that even in machine learning, there are different ways of training. And I hear there are different types of machine learning also, supervised,
There is.
unsupervised. So can you tell
Yeah,
me a
but
little about that?
yeah, I'll quickly show you that, but we have limited time and we have
Hmm.
Prasad and Sharik waiting. So just give me one more minute and we'll wrap it up. But I would be happy to take it into next session so that we can talk about it. So when we talk about machine learning algorithm, we can talk about three things: supervised learning, unsupervised learning, and reinforcement with learning. I'll quickly talk about it. Sorry for that. So when you are learning as a kid, you have a picture given to you. C is for cat, D is for dog. That is how I learn. That is a label associated with the image. So now as soon as I see this is image, this particular image, I would say, is it a dog or a cat, right? So that is how we learned. Now I may not have seen every type of dog or every type of cat, but I have been trained on a label data. So now if I see different type of dog or different type of cats, I can still make out that this is a dog or this is a cat, right? Why? Because I know that they would have a specific type of feature, they would have a specific fur type, they would have a specific body type, they would have a tail. So that is how I am trying to perform inferences by different data which has been fed. So that is a label data given to me. Sometime I may not have label data, and now this is a good movie which you should be watching, Hachiko. In case you get time, check this movie. Really interesting movie about a dog. So I would recommend, in case you want to spend your Sunday doing something, check that movie Hachiko. Now coming to supervised learning, what we are doing in supervised learning, we label data. Like we have cars photo, we train to the model and say, model, this is how the car looks like. So next time a picture comes to the model, model would say, okay, it is compared. Now we have comparison of wheel, we have base, we have a color, we have a style, and now I can say it is a car. Is 100% car? Probably yes, probably not. So this is how we are doing a supervised learning. We feed to model, this is how a car looks like, this is how a cat looks like, and based on that, model is supervising the learning. So that was supervised learning. Now I'll not read all these things. Then comes unsupervised learning. Let's say we do not have data, like see this one. So we are feeding to model all these images. There are cars, there is a bus, there is a truck, there is a bicycle. I have not put any tag on that. I know it is a bicycle, but model does not know. So what we do, we put it to model, and now model can start classifying or clustering them. It can say, looks like all these vehicles are of same type. They have more wheels, they have bigger base, they have a bigger side body, and they looks like there is a place to keep something. So let me classify all of them as one category. Second one, it looks like these are all the places where we have a two-wheeler type of thing. So let me cluster it. So I did not tell model what is a car, what is a bike, but it is able to identify similar type of pattern and say, okay, this is going to be your cluster data, and that's how I will create it. So that is called unsupervised learning. And then comes the example, I'll skip it as of now, and then comes your reinforcement learning. So reinforcement learning, like if your dog, you ask your dog to sit, and if it sits, you give it a cookie. But if it doesn't sit, you do not give a cookie. So like a model, what you do, if you say a model makes right decision, you give him a reward point. If it does not, we do not do anything on that, or we give a penalty to that. So model is now, okay, if I do this, I do not get reward or I get punished, so let me not do that. That is how we are reinforcing what is a good behavior and what is a bad behavior, and based on that we perform reinforcement learning. So that is how we perform all these things. So obviously I will stop now. I would share these slides with everyone, so you should be able to get more details on it. So hopefully that has given you a little bit more idea that how we leverage machine learning and what are some of the common fundamental things we have utilized. All
Sure.
right, I'll
Thank
stop
you.
here
Thank
now,
you so
Parna.
much, Ashish. And I hope the team has also learned a lot from you. So we'll catch
So
up
only
again
thing,
next week.
exactly. The only thing is, like, the time is always short, and we have steal a lot of time from Prasad and Sharik. So over to you, Prasad and Sharik, and people who have attended. Any suggestion if you have, we would be happy to listen to that. And the slides would be made available to you. We would be sharing more information as we move forward. So let me now add Prasad and Sharik. Thank you so much.
Ashish, I thought that you can continue because anyways, we have left time 15 minutes. It'll be very difficult to cover everything we want to cover in 15 minutes. But I think we can try because you have made a logical stop. That's what I was trying to ping you that, in
Okay,
case if
I
you want to
didn't see
continue for
that.
another.
Yeah, I was in a flow, so I didn't see the private
Yeah,
chat,
I
but sorry
understand.
for
I
that.
understand. Completely fine.
All right.
Um,
So
so we can
hopefully
try, and
people
I
won't
think it will
mind
take
if
more
we
than
are a
15
little
minutes
bit
for
more,
us.
5-10 minutes here and there, right?
Yeah, that's what, like audience, if you need to drop at the
Yeah.
hour, no problem. You can,
Feel free. It is
watch the
recorded. You could come back.
recording later. But we will try and cover the entire thing that was planned. It might take around, we planned for half an hour, so we'll see how much me and Sharik would take.
Thank you. Just one thing before we start, Prasad. Ashish, we had a few questions. Actually, there is a recurring theme when it comes to the questions. There were one question, I think, Prasad or Ashish, we can take it up because this was asked multiple times. What are the prerequisites for somebody who wants to start in AI/ML? Specifically for people who are non-coders and people who are coming in from, let's say, semi-technical or non-technical backgrounds. What is your suggestion for these people?
Prasad, you want to take it or should I?
Yeah.
Go ahead, Ashish.
Yeah, means see, there is no official prerequisite anywhere. Nobody said and stopped you from learning anything new, right?
Right.
Maybe we have people who are a jewelry designer and now they are the best software developer we got in Amazon. So don't think there is a prerequisite. Prerequisite in the terms of like you may need little bit of programming languages. You may need to understand the ecosystem also, like how these cloud computing work, what is the model, what is the programming, what is the algorithm, what is the training data. But it's not like if you haven't done anything in IT, you still cannot work it. Maybe you may not be creating a model, but you may learn how to optimize the model. Maybe you can learn how to customize the model. So prerequisite basic IT concept if you have and basic programming, I think that should be a good enough starting point. But if programming is not your forte, still you have a lot of vast field in AI which you can leverage, so don't worry on that.
Just want to add one point over there to Ashish's answer is that nobody asked about the mathematics behind machine learning. There is a huge amount of maths, right? So that's one thing which you need to be careful as well. And generally, this is how I put. I used to get this question probably 10 years back when people who wanted to move to DevOps as well, and the answer I used to give is very simple: is that maybe to get started with, you don't need to have the programming language. But in order to become a very good DevOps engineer or a very good, automation engineer, you need to, at some point, you have to learn some fundamentals of programming. I guess, I don't know, correct me if I'm wrong, Ashish and Prasad, the same thing would apply here as well. To get started with, you don't need to have, let's say, expertise in Python or Java or whatever. But at some point, you should have some understanding, especially for Python, because Python is used heavily in all these languages. Whenever you work with any machine learning models, whenever you're doing inference, you're doing any kind of data manipulation, Python is right at the top when it comes to the languages being used. So some understanding of it will be there, of course. So you should know that. Maybe not to get started with, but at some point in time, you should know that. That's the idea.
Good.
Yeah, and I'll add out it. Only skill that you require is learn and be curious. Yeah. It's a leadership principle also, but that's the only thing you'll require. And there are multiple aspects of AI ML. If you're actually working as an ML engineer, then you might need expertise on all of that. But AI is, so for example, a person who is working in finance, let's say investment banker, they're not a computer science experts, but they use computers. Exactly. It will be similar to that. In any profession you would be, right? You might not be writing the algorithms. You might not be knowing the inner workings, right? Does anyone know how a credit card works behind the scene? You might be knowing, but most people don't, right? It automatically happens and we know how to use credit card. It will be something like you should just, if you want to go deep and become an ML engineer, best, because then you will be like earning $1 million, right? Because that's the hottest job right now. But if not, at least you should be knowing the applications and how to make use of that application.
True, very true. I see.
Connor has, I love the discussion that was happening on that channel. Like the YouTube comments. Let's continue the discussion in the Discord. It will be a lot easier for all of us to collaborate there, because it's almost virtually impossible to keep track, and especially because we do not have the option to reply. We need to keep tagging the person in YouTube comments. In Discord, we will be easily able to have those threads, and we can have those beautiful conversations, and we can go in depth there.
Right.
Let's switch gears.
Yes, definitely. Sure. Go ahead. Yes, sir.
So let's switch gear and let's talk about how you should be introducing yourself in an interview. And what we're talking about here is not just specific to interview. It's more when you talk about introduction, it's always good to make a good first impression. It also helps in a lot of things. So it's about how you should have an elevator pitch for yourself. We'll start with, I'll ask Sharik a simple question. He will respond to it, and then we'll talk about it a bit. And then I have a few slides in which I've laid down very specifically the structure that you can follow as a template if you'd like to create an introduction for yourself. But the most common question that is asked everyone in the interview at the start is, tell me about yourself. So Sharik, tell me about yourself.
Thank you, Prasad. So yeah, I'm Sharik. I have been working in the IT industry for the past approximately 20 years now. I started my career as a system administrator working on IBM mainframes. I'm not sure if anybody has heard of something called AS400. So that's one of the technologies I started with and worked on that for a few years before moving on to other enterprise softwares. Then moved on to things like Microsoft Active Directory, Exchange servers, worked on them extensively. Then I moved on to data center designings and worked heavily on VMware suite of products, managing from large to very large data centers, how the clusters would work, working on their high availability and disaster recovery solutions, those kind of things. Then I would say probably 5 years into my career, I switched gears. I moved into DevOps because that was the time when DevOps was getting new, and it was one of the things which you had to get into, especially if you're from sysadmin side, to understand how automation works, how your job can be made easier. So yes, DevOps, and worked on tools like Ansible and Chef and Puppet and Docker and a host of other tools, other softwares. And then around the same time, I switched gears and moved into cloud computing. Now, interestingly, my first foray into cloud computing was private cloud. And I'm not sure if everybody has heard of something called OpenStack. So OpenStack was my first sort of cloud computing software on which I worked. Very little bit on Cloud Foundry, but yeah, majorly on OpenStack. And then this was probably 6 years back, I got selected for AWS, and the whole thing shifted to public cloud. And I started working on AWS extensively. Started into the support role, handling all the deployment and DevOps related services, and moved my way into the technical training role, where I was there for the 5 years before I went ahead and started my own company. If I talk about my some of the things which I'm working on, I would say serverless technologies and event-driven technologies, containers. I have in last year or two, I have worked heavily on those hybrid cloud environments. And one of the things which I have been kind of looking into a lot is something called FinOps. Which is kind of which is one of the things which is kind of one of the heavyweights in the cloud industry at the moment, how to reduce cloud costs. That's one of the focus for pretty much every company. So that's one of the things I'm looking at very in depth at the moment. So yeah, that's about me.
Thanks. Now, see, this is a great introduction as Sharik talked about his entire. But now we'll see how we should be tailoring it specific to the job role that you're applying for and specific to the interviewer. Now, Sharik has a vast experience. And at some point, depending upon the time, we'll also talk about how you should be, if you're a fresher versus you're experienced professional. The introduction should be having different kinds of components. Like if you have 10 years plus experience versus if you are in an earlier career. And in the chat, just let us know how much industry experience you folks have. And accordingly, we can see how we can shape this discussion. But now what I'll do is that I'll also talk about my introduction that I used to give, because I also have some good experience. And then we'll refine it into how it should be tailored specific to the job role that I'm applying for, that we are applying for, and for the interviewer if possible. So I'll try and share my screen. Let me see if I am able to do that. Ashish, you might have to change the layout to show the screen. Yeah, perfect. Thank you so much. So how to introduce yourself in an interview? And I've written a detailed article in the newsletter, Behavioral OS for Techies, and we'll talk about that. So similar to Sharik, I have my experience, and this is what I used to introduce myself. Okay, I'll give a bit of a background. Before joining AWS in 2019, I had around 10 years plus experience, and I did not interview for 7 years. I was in the same company Sapient. So, when you start interviewing after being in one specific place for a long time, it gets a bit difficult. And I was searching for a new job, and I used to go to give an interview, and I used to think that I need to tell them everything that I have done in last 10 years, right? So anyone who used to ask me, tell me about yourself, and I used to do, okay, I graduated computer science 2007, joined a telecom company as software engineer, used to talk about, early experience, initial job switches that I did. Then I talked about, I worked as a web application. So me and Sharik, you can see we had a different experience. He's more into sales admin, I'm more into developer side of it. Financial client, I gained experience. I used to talk about what the technologies. Then I talked about how I grew from a developer to lead architect. Like by this time I can feel that the interviewer is not even listening to me, but I used to continue. Like I need to tell everything that I have done in my career, right? So I used to talk about, then that's where my 7-year stint came from the company Sapient. So I used to talk about, I joined my current company in 2012, and the last 5 years I've been doing this. Talked about the product building experience, and I used to go on and on. And in my recent experience, I used to do this. Talked about how I modernize a legacy application, and then also talk about a bit about, like a personal thing. It used to take me 10 minutes to do all of this. Right? And as Sharik is laughing, obviously, now I know what mistake I was making. And I just want to ensure that in case if any of you are doing something like that, it will be more difficult, because interviewers have a very specific timeline in which they kind of make a assumption, or not assumption, I would say, but it's more like within the first 5 to 10 minutes, the interviewer has a opinion about it's a hire or a no hire, kind of, sometimes. And you need to ensure that you make the maximum impression within the first 5 minutes. So that for that, you need to ensure that you do not have your introduction more than a couple of minutes. Whatever your length of experience is, even if you have 20 years plus experience, it doesn't matter. Think about what role you're applying for and how you can tailor your introduction. You have a lot of information, great. Now see what all information is relevant for the job role you're applying for. No one. Yeah.
Very important.
You want to add something?
No, just want to say that what you're saying is very important. Like, I mean, just to give my example, I skipped at least 4 or 5 experiences what I have with different companies. I focused only on the things which are relevant. And one thing which I always mention, like, from the examples which you're giving, I have seen this having, when interviewing multiple candidates, try not to be linear. We have seen this thing like, I start with 2005, then 2010, then 15, then 20 and 24. You don't have to do that. Stick to what is relevant. Again, do your due diligence, do your homework, and find the things which are relevant to the job interview. Like, what are the things being you are going to be evaluated upon? Anything else? Let's say in this case, for example, if Prasad, you are hiring me for an AWS role where I'm going to work on, let's say, applications, my data center experience would not matter much there. So I can mention probably a line or two if I really want to, but I should stick to that. I should not go beyond that line. Okay, I've worked on VMware, I've worked on data centers. That's about it. I should be focusing on serverless more, containers more, the applications more. So that's very important thing. That's where your homework comes into picture. Yeah.
Yeah. Cool. So when anyone asks you, tell me about yourself, what they're asking is, tell me why I should hire you. Right? So you need to understand that. So no one is asking about, like what you used to do 10 years back or something like that, or tell me about yourself. They're asking, tell me whatever time you have, that why I should be hiring you. So ensure that whatever 10 minutes introduction you have, you tailor that experience to make 1 minute elevator pitch for yourself. You have 1 minute in which you do impress the interviewer and make his mind that, okay, this candidate is a person whom I should be hiring. So let me ask questions to see whether or not the candidate is right fit. So, okay, here is a structure that I came up writing my introduction after failing multiple interviews. I failed a lot of interviews before joining Amazon, and I tried to, reflect, and I tried to come up with specific, formula for myself. Start with your career summary, very brief, 20 seconds max. And this hook line should, make sure that interviewer is interested to listen to you. And then the main body comes into picture. And I have a visual also for this so that it makes it more clear. But in this main body, which can go from 45 to 90 seconds, it has to be very crisp. Talk about your relevant experience. When I say relevant experience, specific to the role that you're applying for, your key skills, and if your recent project, if that is very much relevant to your current job that you're applying for, talk about that. And there's no specific order, but you talk about these three in that main body. And finally, it is optional. But if you want to talk about your personal interest, specifically if you're able to find some common ground with the interviewer, that will be good. Like for example, I'll talk about my scenario specifically, but this is how a flow would work like. And this you can write your introduction down and practice it. Start with your career summary, 10-20 seconds. Talk about your relevant experience, key skills, and recent projects. None of them more than 15 to 30 seconds. This will be your main body, and it need not be in any specific order. And then your personal interest, just 5-10 seconds, talk about it. And then that's pretty much. This should be a whole introduction. Max 90 seconds, max 2 minutes. Don't go beyond that. You can always end with, if you have any, I am happy to dive deep or something like that. And I'll show an example of that in a moment. Sharik, do you want to add anything here?
No, just one thing on this personal interest, Prasad. I mean, again, from experience, what I've seen is that, be careful what you're putting in as hobbies. Because I've seen situations, I'll give you actual examples, what happened with me. So one guy said, like, I like to read books. All right, so what is the book you're reading currently? Or what was the last book you read? Complete blank, right? Okay, I like to watch movies. Oh, what was the last movie you saw? What did you do last weekend? And then kind of his gibberish, and is trying to think, oh, what should I say? So make sure whatever hobbies you're putting in, you have examples, or you have at least a minute or two to talk about. Don't go blank on that. Otherwise, it's better not to put those things.
Exactly. And very good point. And not just about the personal interest, but about everything you say here in these 2 minutes. Any keyword, like let's say you're talking about, and in one of the keywords you said containers. And if I interview ask a question about containers, and if you go blank, right?
Exactly. So Vasant has put very good point in the chat. Like, expect the follow-up questions on whatever you are putting in your resume, and whatever you are talking. You expect the follow-up questions based on that.
Exactly. So now the power of customization. Now you have your 10 years, 20 years experience, or even as a fresher, you might be having a lot of things to talk about. But how would you customize for the job role you're applying for? And the interviewer, if possible. Now, thankfully, in our age, like right now, what we are, almost I've seen that recruiters do tell you who you are interviewing for. Like, so you can check their LinkedIn profile and you can see what they are doing and stuff, right? So you'll be able to customize and see if you can find a common footing. Like in my case, and I'll give a full example about how I prepared my introduction for AWS interview. But I come from a .NET background, and I saw that the interviewer also had a .NET background. I checked their LinkedIn profile, and I saw that the interviewer has written a book on .NET long back, around 10 years back, when the .NET framework was there. So I knew that if I double down, and .NET is my expertise, like AWS was not my expertise. I come from a non-cloud background. So I knew that I had to double down on .NET. And if the interviewer also knows .NET and they ask questions on me, I'll be able to answer it. I'll be in my comfort zone. So I doubled down on that. But let's say the interviewer was not from a .NET background. They were from a Java background. And I cannot talk a lot of .NET in mind. I would have rather focused then on the Microsoft tech, not instead of focusing on Microsoft tech stack, I would have focused on the design patterns or architecting skills. The role I was applying for was migrating and modernizing Microsoft workloads on AWS. So I had to talk about Microsoft workloads, but if interviewer does not have any experience in that, there is no point for me talking about those stacks, because interviewer, I'll not be able to find common footing with the interviewer. Let's say the interviewer comes from a managerial position or a leadership position or from a business background. Then I will emphasize on my business skills or my stakeholder management skills. Things I would have talked about in the introduction would have been more related to those things that I can find a common footing with the interviewer, so that it feels more of a discussion happening with the interviewer, rather than interviewer having a set of questions and they asking to me and I'm getting stuck because I have no clue of those questions. So if I'm able to find that common footing within the first couple of minutes, it becomes a lot easier discussion. So to give an example, now this is what I have provided. Now let's start from the top. This is where I say the intro hook line. I started my career as a .NET developer, and over the last 10 years, I've gained experience in developing and creating applications using Microsoft Workload Stack. I know the role I'm applying for Microsoft workloads on AWS. I know the interviewer had .NET background. So this is where I talked about and hooked them. The second, I talked about the current project because I was currently working on specific thing which included modernizing Microsoft workloads. So this whole thing that I focused on in the next 15 seconds or 20 seconds was about the showcasing them that my recent project is where I am working on the tech stack that you're talking about. And of all the previous experiences that I have, I've talked about one more experience in which my tech stack was specific to .NET. And then I saw that the interviewer also is a runner. And coincidentally, I am also a runner. So I talked about specifically about, I just ran the London Marathon by that time. So I talked about London Marathon running it. And we had conversation for a couple of minutes on the marathon. And then because I know that I'm doing it in a very rushed manner within the 2 minutes, if I speak this, it does not take me more than 90 seconds. I try and see if I can end with this. I'm happy to dive deep into any of my experiences. So if they want to catch any of these keywords, they'll be able to catch it. And I was very specific about the keywords that I'm putting in. Monolithic applications, .NET, SQL Server database, backend. I'm a backend engineer. I'm not a front-end engineer. I have not worked on React or something like that. I've mainly worked on C# .NET backend engineer, CI/CD pipeline, SDLC life cycles, and then again .NET SQL. So I've put in those keywords so that if the interviewer wants to pick them up, they can pick them up. I'll take a pause there for any questions, or Sharik, I'll let you pitch in.
No, I mean, that's great, man, Prasad. I see your thing, what you have prepared. And again, this again comes back to the same point. Be non-linear. So I can see you have started with the most recent experience. That's very important, right? Because, I mean, I remember reading it somewhere. Nobody is interested in your life history, right? So what they want to, what it should be, that what is common ground, first of all, which you mentioned very nicely. And the second thing is what is relevant. Anything irrelevant, either remove it or try to make it, minimize this as much as possible, because nobody is like interested in that, and it's a waste of your time. It's a waste of interviewers' time. So focus on what is strong points and what is common points for you and for the people.
Yeah. Gaurav, you asked a very question that should we use this particular notation while addressing interviewer like sir or directly by name? Now, I generally prefer using directly the name, but I also understand it depends upon culture to culture.
Culture, yes.
Right. And it also depends upon, look, if you're a fresher and you feel like seniority, it's again in the culture to culture. Like I've seen different people behaving in different manners in different cultures, and that is completely fine. Do not worry much about that. How you notate them. It will not matter much. What matters is the more content part of it, not how you address them.
I mean, I just add to Prasad's point. See, it used to be the case, especially if I talk about the Indian context, that taking the name of somebody senior was not that good of a thing. But at least in corporate culture, I don't see that as a problem. If you're really concerned, if let's say I'm meeting Prasad for the first time and I know, and I'm not sure how should I address, so I can directly ask politely, hey, should I call you Prasad or should I call you Mr. Rao? What would you prefer? That way. And that ends the conversation. Prasad will say, call me Prasad or call me Mr. Rao, not a problem. Right? So anything is fine. Typically, that will be the answer you will get.
And that's true. No one will say, call me sir, right?
Exactly. Nobody will call you. Exactly.
So, if you're comfortable, start by the name. If you're not, that's a good approach, actually. That's a great point. Cool. I know we are almost 8 minutes of the time, so I'll just put up the last slide, which is key takeaways. Keep it concise. Between 1 to 2 minutes is the sweet spot. If you want, you can go for 3 minutes. That's the max, I would say. Tailor your intro specific to the job role and, if possible, to the interviewer. And certainly drop in the keywords you would like the interviewer to ask you questions on. Sharik, do you want to add anything more?
I just want to say, practice it. I think Parna mentioned it somewhere in the chat. Practice it in front of the mirror, with your friends. possibly with your senior colleagues, people who are senior to you, and you just want to tell them like, okay, can you give me the feedback what I say? Because written somewhere, things are written, you have written a very nice essay, but when you talk about it, it's completely different. Your intonation of your voice, how you're speaking, because a lot of times if you're not practiced properly, and if you're not comfortable, you will be very rushed. You will talk, you will you will talk, and you will listen to yourself. Nobody will be able to listen to you when you talk in a very rushed manner and everything. So, and this is a very common tendency. When you are nervous, you tend to talk fast. That's again one of the things which is there in terms of public speaking. So
Yes.
practice in front of the mirror and with your friends and colleagues, whoever you want to, but practice as much as possible, right?
Yeah. Like for me, what has helped is recording and listening to myself.
Recording, yes, that's also very, nowadays we have technology. It takes like, just put your mobile
Yeah,
phones.
just take your phone, record
Yes.
yourself, and just talk to your introduction, and
Mm.
then it helps you a lot. Not just introduction,
Exactly.
give the full mock interviews and record them and listen back yourself. Not just asking the feedback from others. Self-reflect. When you listen, you will get to know if you are nervous, if you are speaking fast, if your tone is going high. If someone asks you a question, like it used to happen with me a lot. If someone used to ask me a question which I did not know, I used to go in defensive mode. No, wrong thing to do, but I used to go into defensive mode. Now I'm very upfront. I'm not worked on this technology. I'm not sure. I'll have to check and come back. Right?
I think this is something which we talk about a lot, even in Amazon interviews and elsewhere as well, is the fact that in any interview, any technical interview, nobody expects you to know 100% of the questions being asked. I mean, I'll tell you our example. In Amazon, we expect you to know probably 60%, 70% of what we are asking, not more than that, right? If you know everything, probably you're not being aligned right level. You're probably at the higher level, or you have been somehow got the question already. These are the only two possibilities, right? So nobody is expecting you. And what happens, see, when you don't know a topic and when you try to answer, you start speaking gibberish, right? That's where the problems start. It's much better to say that, sorry, Prasad, I don't know this answer. I've never worked on this technology. Prasad, we will move on to the next question. Probably that question is something which I know very well, and I can impress Prasad with a much better, much eloquent answer rather than talking gibberish. So saying no is very important if you don't know something.
Yes, it's a superpower, because
Superpower,
then you're
exactly.
not you're not digging a rabbit hole for yourself.
Yes.
But cool, we are more than 10 minutes over, and we would continue these discussions on how you should be preparing for interviews, how you should be presenting yourself, and all the other behavioral topics in the coming sessions. So let's continue the conversation in the Discord channel. And if you have any specific topic, like for example, today's behavioral topic was how to introduce yourself in an interview. If you have any specific topics like that, post it on the Discord channel. Please tag me, Ashish, Sharik, anyone, or or put it on YouTube, a LinkedIn group, or ping us individually, and we'll be happy to create like a quick 30 minutes session like that, in which we will share our experiences about how we have been able to navigate our interviews and able to succeed.
Definitely.
Good. And we have one question which Kapil wants to take over. Kapil, should I add you to the stage?
One question that I'm looking at, and I think I'm forgetting the name. He was very curious to know that if he failed the interview, how to take that. So I was answering that interview should be as a learning opportunity. You shouldn't take that seriously. So if you are going in a mindset that, okay, I failed it, it's not you failed it. So interviewer also failed it. So it's not only about you. It's about the right match. Don't take it personally. It's only learning opportunity. And one other
Exactly.
thing that is, I read somewhere in the preparation of my interview that it doesn't matter how many you fail. You don't have to mention anywhere. So 100 interviews failed, one succeed in any fun company, and you are far ahead.
I agree.
Exactly.
Good one.
Yeah.
All of us have failed. Just to add to Kapil's point,
Exactly.
all of us have failed multiple times. And I always say this, failure teaches you much more than success tells you, right? And again, what Kapil said, don't take it personally that you, first of all, you should not use the word fail. You don't fail an interview. It's more about there is a skill set requirement and there is something which you have. It's not matching. You are not getting that job. If you're matching, you're getting that job. It's not a failure as such. Don't take it as a failure. That's a negative aspect. Don't use that.
Yeah, I generally say not selected.
Not selected,
Even that is
yes.
not very positive, but it's like, it's not a good match. It's not selected, right? And it's
I
always
think
a learning
people,
opportunity.
Within
people
Amazon,
like,
we
I
use
think
this word
this is coming from
inclined
the
and not
freshers.
inclined.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Sorry, Kapil.
Sorry, I'm saying that this is probably coming from the freshers. When you have the 5 year, 10 year experience, then you will reach to that point that, okay, I'm not failing it, I'm only learning it. So, yeah.
You haven't failed enough. Let's put it that way.
You haven't failed.
Right. And yeah, we wanted to cover about introduction of freshers also. We were not able to do that. We'll try and cover it
We
in
will
one
talk
of the.
about it. Yeah, I mean,
Probably next time.
obviously, time is always a constraint, and like, I was thinking, Prasad, like we should turn it around. Like we should give you first slot rather than I speaking, because for me, when I start taking hold of time, it's a little complicated.
Same here,
No,
Ashish. Like
that's,
me and Sharif would have
That's
spoken
for
about
all of
this
us.
for an hour, right?
That's for all of us.
there
Good
is a
one.
lot to add. So it's hardly, I was tempting that why we cannot covering this, and looking at the questions that we are getting, it's like
There's
tempting
so
to
many
like
things. Yes. So
so
see,
many
yeah,
things.
agree. There is a timeline, and obviously we can't answer every single question. But yeah, that's why the Discord or LinkedIn channel comes in. Again, we may not be able to look every single question. We still do the job, and if we have 5,000 people asking question, no way we could answer it, right? But yeah, we'll try to as much as we can answer. Otherwise, you could reach out to us on LinkedIn. Now, one last thing I want to talk about here.
One thing.
I have published. Go ahead, sir.
No, I'm just saying that's where the power of community comes in the Discord channel. It's not that me, Ashish, or Kapil needs to answer or Parna needs to
Yeah,
answer.
could be anyone else
We all
also.
can help each other, right? Ashish, sorry, go for it. I stole
No,
the
that's
spotlight.
good one. Yeah, means it's not like we are monitoring. There was a question also that I'm not guessing answer for technical questions. So we have not started community to answer your question. We are creating a community where everyone learns from each other. If it is a very pressing thing, make or break type of thing for you, probably you should reach out directly. But otherwise, we have limited time and we will try to answer as much as generic question or question which help a lot of people rather than a specific people. Hope that is understandable.
Yes, and Ashish, on that point, if anyone in this group is interested in becoming the moderator and they have
Why not?
time, more than welcome. It's a community driven. Obviously, we'll be having some conversation about how you'll be moderating and how much time you'll be done. But if you have the bandwidth, please reach out to me, Ashish, and we'll be happy to have a chat to make you a moderator. And then, please do spend some time helping the community.
Great. And this is a quiz I have prepared, and it is only for 3 days because of some platform limitation, how long I can share the code. So if there is, if somebody is interested in practicing what we have learned today, go through this knowledge check question. Just use the same password, which is BESA-week-01, all caps, and you should be good to go into it. It has 10 questions, but it would give you idea about what fundamental question you may expect into your certification exam. So not just like learning, but how we could practice it also. That's why this mock question is. So, and go ahead, it is just 3 days. It won't be lasting long. So attempt it, shouldn't be a problem at all. Yeah, it says it is a private course, but by using the password, you should be able to get inside it, right? Thank you so much. Any last words, anyone? Parna or Prasad, Kapil, anything you want to add?
I've said a lot. Parna is not on the screen.
This
Ashish,
is
you want to add Parna?
this
So
was
she left. I think she has something.
Okay.
It's late in India, so she just
Oh,
left.
yes.
Yeah,
this
yeah,
is
it's
the
already
most
15 minutes beyond.
this is the most engaging session I had, like including the last session, fifth one. So I think AI is the topic is I think interesting for everyone. So it was quite engaging in the like chat also.
That's good
Yes,
one.
I could also feel the
So
same thing. Chat is like it's
oh,
very engaging compared to the previous
it's
cohort. So
exploding. It's
yeah,
exploding.
make sure you continue that energy in the Discord channel as well, so that we are able to address everything and we are able to discuss everything. Let's do
That
that.
makes sense.
Yeah.
That's so good. So thanks everyone
And
for attending. I know it could be late for some of you, and we appreciate the support you are doing. I would request one more thing from everyone. If you like something, please share. We want to make sure that this channel reaches to as many people as it can be, and we will keep it free. That is our commitment. So make sure that you tag us, you reach out to other people and say, hey, I found something useful. Why don't you join me? And if they fail one time to join, maybe you can go ahead and tag them again. So please, like the YouTube channel, like the video, share it on LinkedIn, tag us so that we know that you are helping us to reach out to as many people as we can, and we would need your support there. We have our limitation of how much people we can respond, but once we have a community, obviously the reach is multifold, so would need all your help there. Thank you so much, and we'll see you
yes.
next week. Any feedback, any suggestion, please keep them coming. We would be looking into it. Thank you.
Yeah, let's please use the power of social media and spread the word about Become a Solutions Architect program as much as possible. As Ashish said, we are committed to keep it free for the community, as you know, and let's spread the word as much as possible.
Thanks everyone. Have a good weekend.
Thank you.